Fellow tennis nerds, I hope all is well. I'm here in my tennis office. Someone asked me if I'm living with my parents because there's a single bed there, but no, this is the guest room / my office. So I'm not living with my parents. I am 41. Mixed bag, that means we talk about pro player, rackets and some other stuff. I have so much content coming up. I hope you follow the podcast because there's some interesting guests coming your way. So make sure you subscribe, that helps a lot. So if we look at the pro player string tensions from Halle, sorry, I don't remember who sent this. Big thanks anyway, message me and I will rectify this. But if we look at tension sheet 1, which I have here, there's one thing that comes to mind, and it's the counterintuitive thing that many players actually drop their tension on grass. And you might ask, why do they do that? Like, the grass is so fast, you need a higher tension because otherwise you have no control. But on grass, you don't have time for the full swing. You don't have time most of the time on this level that they play, the pros, to actually go for full blast swings with a lot of spin like they do on clay. So the game is a bit different. You need to block more shots. You need to have more touchy-feely type tennis to be successful on grass. There's a lot about the slice, and you need the maximum pop you can get on the serve. So the lower tension will of course increase the power. Also a little bit of the pocketing of the ball, so the ball will stay longer on the string bed, which is a nice sensation when you're playing with touch on grass. So you're getting better touch, you're getting more power at the cost of some control, but you're hitting a bit flatter. So it's a different game, smaller margins, and as you might have seen, there's some, bad bounces here and there, so you need to react really quickly. And that's why I've seen some players, not all, this is a very personal thing, of course, but that's the average. The general consensus seems to be that most players drop a little bit on average. That could be 1-2 kilos, 2 to 4 pounds, not more than that generally. So Karatsev, from what I've seen on clay, is usually 24 kilos or 53 pounds with his PT57A, and on grass he's gone down. So as you can see in the sheet here, he is 23 on the mains and 22 on the crosses, so 51 and 49. The reason you drop a little bit on the crosses, you see some players do that, is that you allow this mains to move more, so you have more spin potential. The more the main strings move and snap back into place, the better spin you're going to get. That's the theory, and it seems to be something that people subscribe to overall. Hugo Gaston, for example, here he plays a gut at 21 kilos. It's a hybrid setup with all the power, but still very surprising low tension for a gut string. That's a more powerful string. You usually want to string those like up to 25 kilos, 55 pounds. Novak Djokovic is one of those players that like it really tight in his relatively small head size racket. More videos about that on the channel, as you know. So he still likes to string 27, 28 kilos on the gut. And here we have Gaston. But they hit the ball differently. You need to have a string setup, a racket that suits your game. So if you have a swing that looks a certain way, it could be very spinny, it could be very flat. You have Manarino who kind of like more pushes the ball a little bit. It's not a push, but it's a short swing, and he likes the low tension. I've seen 9 kilos from him in recent times. So everything's possible, and as you will see on the next sheet, you will also see some high tensions, different approach to the grass court tennis. Sonego, for example, the Italian, he plays all power soft. Usually strings around 20 kilos, here is down to 19 and 18. And you see some low tensions on this sheet, as you can see here. But then we have guys like Medvedev or Rafa Nadal, for example. They don't really care. They stick to around 25 kilos, 25.5. That's their tension. They don't mess around with that. And that's fine too. It depends a little bit who you are. Yannick Sinner is another one of those, plays 62 pounds or 28 kilos, pretty high. But with his type of game, his massive swings, his excellent timing, I don't think there's many players who hit harder than him. I think it's him and Alcaraz that hit the hardest on the tour. That is what he needs. So very different per player. You need to find what works for you. I always say that. We have Roberto Carvalles Baena here with something in the other direction. He has Laxlon Original, which I would say is a little bit of a softer polyester for, an older Laxlon string. 30 mains, 29 kilo crosses. For a polyester, that's really high. And he's obviously more of a clay court player, likes to swing big, likes to feel 100% confidence to what he's doing on the court, and that's why he likes this high tension. It works for him, it works for Dustin Brown, who strings even higher, but not for most other players. And if we go to the other end of the spectrum, we have another Spaniard, Roberto Bautista Agut, and he strings the original 21.5 kilos. So here you can see the difference. Two players from the same country, two pro players on grass, same string, slightly different rackets, but such a difference in tension. And this is a full bed original, and it's 21.5 kilos on Bautista and 29 or 30 for Carvalles Baena. So wow, it shows how different we are. Another one who strings low, Marcelo Melo, doubles player, 17.5 kilos for RPM Blast. Eubanks have had great results, strings pretty low I would say. He's kind of a Fed fan guy, one-handed backhand, huge serve, quite tall and lanky, 45 pounds, and that is around 20.5 kilos. So that's also what I would say a lower tension. He strings that with a full bed of polyester. So as you can see, it's all about what you like, and these are the tensions from Halle. They might then have adjusted them somewhat for Wimbledon. How the ball flies, the altitude. So there's so many factors, you know. For the grass court season, they are using the same balls as far as I know, so they don't have to adjust for the balls, but otherwise that also comes into play. So a tennis player is moving from, you know, destination to destination, changing hotel, food, courts, you know, venue completely, surface, everything changes all the time in one of the most difficult sports in the world. So it's not easy. Another thing I wanted to talk about today is Mirra Andreeva, and not only her, it's about a racket that's very popular on the WTA tour. And Christopher Clary, the author and journalist, he was on my podcast. He said he plays with what is the most popular racket from what he's seeing when he's out on the tour, and that's the blade. In many cases it's a blade, in many other cases it's not. If you follow this channel you probably know this already, but there's something called paint jobs, cosmetic, whatever you want to call it, where they take the old racket and just paint it like the new one to sell more rackets and to market their new model. Makes all the sense in the world. Why would a professional tennis player change their gear all the time, whether it's shoes or rackets or strings? In Mirra Andreeva's case, she's 16 years old, from Russia, might be a next world #1, but it's too early to tell. Sometimes we put this huge pressure on the shoulders of players like Coco Gauff or other players before that, and it's not easy to live up to expectations. So time will tell, let's put it like that. But she has a huge potential, obviously, in her game already in the third round of Wimbledon when I'm talking to you. And she uses a racket that I've talked about before called the Steam 100 BLX. And the Steam is Wilson's power racket from some years back. Is it 10 years now? Probably around there. And it's used by quite a few players. Paula Badosa, Beatriz Haddad-Maia, Emma Raducanu. And you can tell by the main grommets. The grommets in the mains are white at the throat. So there are like 4 plastic grommets there that are white, and that's the way you can tell it's a Steam, because it's one of those rare models where that's the really clear signature. Also, if you study the mold of the racket, the structure of the racket, you will see that it's a Steam and not a blade. Then there are players like Sabalenka who's actually using a blade, but many pros obviously play with some slight different model from what they endorse. And Andreeva uses a very popular string on the tour, Luxlin 4G. Not sure if it's the soft one, which is still not very soft. And 4G is kind of famous for being a bit of an arm wrecker. I mean, it's an excellent string, great feel, great pocketing and sound, but it's quite firm. It's really firm until it starts to drop a bit in tension. So you see some players also on the Pro Tour get arm issues from 4G. And that's why you see more and more hybrid setups, meaning like they put natural gut in the mains for the gut to be the dominant string, or in the crosses for the gut to be the kind of secondary string that at least softens the setup a bit, maybe lowers the launch angle of the ball a bit compared to a full bed of polyester. We might see that with Andreeva as well, that she wants more power at some point, she wants more comfort. I don't know Andreeva's specs. She does have a healthy amount of lead tape in the 12 o'clock, so it's not an ultralight racket, but we don't really know for sure. So if you have that information, please let us know. I also got another question about Carlos Alcaraz and his grip. Why is he using grip 4 on his Pure Aero 98 or VS? We are not quite sure, obviously, if he's using the new one or the slightly older model. It's hard to say. I mean, he's not the biggest guy with the biggest hands in the world. Grip 4 is rare on the tour and on the market in general. Like, there are smaller grip sizes that are the most popular these days. But it's obviously something that he likes personally, whether he maybe started out as a youngster or a junior kid, whatever, with a larger grip for maybe a coincidence. Maybe it was just like what was lying around at home, or maybe he feels a little bit more locked in. These things are highly personal. Pretty much all pros get some kind of custom grip, shape, size, whatever. I mean, Dominic Thiem plays a grip 2.5, which is quite common. Like they don't want to go all 3 or 2, so they find the middle there. And it's something we can get as well. If we have a customizer, a racket customizer close to us, we can also ship our racket somewhere. It would be something to consider for some players who are not quite comfortable with the grip. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe or join Patreon if you have questions. I get so many questions every day that it's tough for me to keep up. So please do that, join Patreon, and then I can get a chat and prioritize that because you're a paying member and it's not expensive. That's it. Have a nice day and don't forget to play some tennis.